Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Gorman on Target, a show that is brought to you by the Wilson Hill Pistol Club, Manchester's greatest little secret. We are dedicated to firearm safety, training, and education. That is the main purpose of our organization, and this is why we produce this show. I have a very lovely guest with me this evening in the studio, Miss Kim Morin, who is the, watch me get it all screwed up, the Executive Director?
Vice President.
Vice President. That's over. Executive Director, folks. Of the Defense League of New Hampshire.
Women's Defense League of New Hampshire, yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay. Well, I believe one of the last times I saw you, you were shooting a Uzi machine gun, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's right, it was. That's right. That was at the personal protection in the home class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I want you to pay attention to that, just so that you're safe. So, Kim, tell us all about this organization. What is its purpose, its goals? What do they do? Tell us about this.
Well, our purpose is to train and educate women in firearm safety, how to shoot firearms, and also other forms of self-defense and other types of training. We have a first aid certification class coming up. Two of us are refused to be a victim instructors, and as you know, that's mostly about situational awareness. So we'll be holding classes for that as well. It's really to get women to come into a group that's all women, we're all certified range safety officers and or NRA instructors, and give them an environment that's a little bit less intimidating than if they're with their husbands, no offense, or their, boyfriends.
We're not married, so it doesn't
but sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating for women if they're learning how to shoot from their husbands or brothers even. And so we find that they come in and it's just a different environment for them, and it's a little bit more comfortable. And we also have a legislative branch.
Oh, tell me about the legislative branch.
That's really fun.
Yeah. Seems like I remember bumping into you on many an occasion on the hallowed halls of the State House, testifying on some of the gun bills that presently being worked through the House and Senate.
Yes, we testify in the Senate and the House. We've recently testified. We alert people about it. We explain what the bills, the good or the bad, what they are. And so we fight legislation for good legislation and against bad legislation.
Now, I have found in my years in the legislature, good and bad, black and white, are really bad terms to use. Pardon the pun. So when you say good legislation or bad legislation, explain to us, what does that mean in your mind?
Good legislation restores our rights. Bad legislation takes more of our rights away. That's how I explain it.
So what about bills that are kind of in the middle?
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing as a bill that's in the middle?
No.
Well, let me give you an example. I'm a certified instructor. I also am certified and refuse to be a victim. But you won't invite me over there because I'm a male. But anyhow, that's okay. There has been a lot of talk, actually controversy, back and forth as to whether the state should mandate that a individual get some kind of a firearms proficiency class, certificate, what have you, in order to obtain a license to carry in the state of New Hampshire. I would say that's middle of the road, wouldn't you?
No, because where in the Second Amendment of our Constitution does it say we have to get trained in order to practice our fundamental right to self-defense?
Well, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. So we shouldn't have to get training to practice our rights. I get where you're coming from, but I don't know anyone who doesn't get training who concealed carries, honestly, especially women. Women are very good about getting training. I've gotten all kinds of training. most women I know, if not actually every single woman I know, before they even thought about carrying concealed, they got training. Gun owners are responsible. Gun owners aren't just going down, buying a firearm, and then putting it in their pocket and, thinking they can protect themselves.
Yeah.
They take it seriously. It's not a light matter.
Well, Kim, it's kind of interesting that you hit that particular subject matter, because I teach basic pistol, and I would say roughly half of the students in any class are women. I would say half of those women have either never fired a pistol, fired one once when they were 12 years old with a grandfather, that kind of thing. Zero experience. And I always ask them, why are you taking this class? And there's a variety of good reasons. A lot of these women are, older, in their 50s, 60s. They live alone for a variety of reasons. They're a little bit nervous, and they just feel that they would like to have something secured. But let me give you the bottom line. If I took 10 guys out here on the street who had never fired a gun and asked them what would they do if they were going to purchase a gun, they'd say, well, I'd go to the gun store, I'd look them over, this, that, and the other thing, talk to the salesman, I'd buy a purchase a pistol. And if I took 10 women out there who never fired a gun and said, we're going to get out and purchase a pistol, what would you do first? Inevitably, they say, take a class.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, women aren't just going to, even if they go and get their pistol license in New Hampshire, which is what I did, I took classes afterwards, but I certainly didn't carry concealed until I had the classes and I felt comfortable carrying. As you know, it's not just carrying a firearm. You have to understand the situations that you can get into. You have to be prepared to use that. It's not just grabbing a firearm and going out and thinking you're going to protect yourself. It's a lot more than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that we get women like that as well at the Women's Defense League at our shoots at Wilson Hill. They've never shot a firearm.
Right.
And we start them out with 22s.
Yeah. And
most of them love it, of course.
Yeah.
And we've even had women who were afraid of guns.
Yeah.
And they came in and they tried it, and the huge smile on their face when they left, which is how I was when I tried my first firearm. But, it's an empowering feeling. And we don't need the government to tell us to be our nannies and tell us we have to do something in order to practice our right, because we're responsible adults. Yeah. And we can do that for ourselves.
I got a little funny war story. I had one of my students, a lady, had never fired a gun, never picked one up in her life. This was her first time ever. And I told her, I tell everybody this, not to brag, but for confidence builder. I said, by the time you leave here today, you're going to be shooting groups of 4 or 5 shots that I will be able to cover with my hand at 50 feet. Yeah, right. So we had this one gal. She was great. She came in, went through the class, really paid attention. This is what I love about women students. They listen to everything and
yes.
are quiet. That's a note for you guys out there when you take a class, by the way, from 2 experts. Anyway, so she gets out there, she fires. Over the course of the day, she had 3 groups that were 4 or 5 shots that you could cover with your hand, right? So at the end of the day, I said, that's it. Class, we're all through with the shooting phase. We're going to go in the other room, take the test, blah, blah, blah. And can I have my target? Of course you can. Oh, I'm going to take my target. I'm going to show everybody at work. I'm going to show my husband. I know exactly
targets.
What you're saying. Yeah.
It is, and it is true. I've had when we've been at gun shows, we've had male instructors come up to us who said they don't even teach men anymore because it's so much more. It's so much nicer to teach women because, like you said, they listen, and we do sometimes. See, but we wouldn't to our husbands, right? Yeah. So it's it's.
I don't want to go there, but
but if someone isn't instructing us about something, so we consider this very important. This is nothing to take lightly. It's serious. Firearms are a serious issue, and we take it very seriously. So of course you listen, you pay attention to every word, and you practice.
Women do.
Yeah, well, I would hope that men would too, but I know women do.
Most men do.
Yes, I'm sure.
I'm not trying to put anybody down. Most men do, but every once in a while you'll get the guy who comes in there. Yeah, I know.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah.
I used to go hunting when I was 12, and I had a shotgun. And,
yeah.
okay, I'll keep my eye on you, buddy.
Right. Exactly.
But so anyway, speaking of gun shows, we just had quite an event here in Manchester with what we call Pork Fest, which is all liberty-minded people that come to New Hampshire looking to move here. And a lot of those folks were there. But you had an interview with a very interesting fellow. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I did. I also am the Manchester Political Buzz Examiner, so I write and do, sometimes investigative reporting. And I interviewed Sheriff Richard Mack, who is a former Arizona sheriff.
Oh, yeah, I know Richard.
And he gave a speech. First, he had a speech. He has a new book out called Are You a David? And he has an organization. It's CSPOA.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't remember exactly. It's kind of a long, but it's police officers and law enforcement and sheriffs across the country who keep their oath of office to protect the Constitution. And there's ways to do it. The stories he was telling us, how some sheriffs, and our sheriffs here have a little bit different kind of power, but he was telling us some stories about sheriffs who got in between the feds, who are coming in to do something to their constituents in their state or their county, and they stopped them because they have that power.
They do. They have that power in New Hampshire.
They do.
Absolutely.
I need to get to know my sheriff.
Yeah.
And so
I'll give you his name after the show.
Yeah. So his speech presentation was really interesting. I had not heard of him before.
Oh, you hadn't?
No.
Oh, really?
I had not.
Oh.
And so I was surprised that I saw his name on the list, and I knew I was going to that, presentation.
Sure.
So I asked him for an interview.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him, and I asked him about his background, which was how he fought against the Brady Bill and won in the Supreme Court back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then I told him that we were fighting for constitutional carry in New Hampshire, and that...
Let me stop you right there, because I've heard that term thrown around in constitutional carry. That a spaceship, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by constitutional carry.
What it means is if you can, we could get into deep things.
No. Throw you a curveball.
No, you didn't. But on constitutional carry would mean there's no laws regarding firearms. So it's kind of a mixed bag. So it's also known. This bill is also known as constitutional carry because those who are legally able to possess and purchase firearms will be able to purchase a firearm and not have to ask permission from a chief of police to concealed carry it.
Now, if I recall New Hampshire laws, I can carry a loaded firearm without a license as long as it's in the open.
Correct.
Which would be open carry.
Right.
Now, if I put my jacket on over that...
You just broke the law.
I just broke the law. I don't have a license to carry.
Right.
So this constitutional carry bill would do what?
It would make it so if that happened, you didn't break the law. Now, you'll still have the choice. You can still get a pistol license if you want, which is great for reciprocity. Sometimes people get their Utah concealed carry license, and they get licenses maybe in Maine or Connecticut.
Yeah.
So you can still get the pistol license if you so desire, but you don't have to. Some people don't leave New Hampshire. Or if they're leaving New Hampshire, maybe they're just going over, to Massachusetts, which you can't even have a shell casing there. So we won't get into that.
No, we won't get into that.
But, a lot of people
I don't want to get cut off the air.
But a lot of people only need to be concerned about New Hampshire. So why should they have to? We can already open carry. Why should we have to ask permission from someone who doesn't know us to put our jacket on?
Well, yeah, but you're oversimplifying the situation. What we really want to do by getting the license is we want to know, we want to be able to stop criminals from carrying a loaded pistol concealed so nobody knows it. and they have all this criminal intent, whether it's robbing a bank or whatever. So what we're doing is trying to control that situation.
How many criminals do you think go down and ask for a pistol license from the chief of police?
Yeah.
They're already concealed carrying. They probably don't get background checks. They're probably not buying it from an FFL dealer. They're not worried about concealed carrying and getting in trouble for that.
So you're trying to tell me that the average criminal does not hold up a bank with a registered pistol?
I'm pretty sure the odds are not, but, I guess we could probably find that out.
Have to go up to state prison, I think.
Yeah, right? Do a survey.
So this bill is going to allow honest citizens who already have the right to carry openly, loaded or unloaded, to be able to carry a loaded firearm under their jacket without breaking the law, without getting in trouble.
Think about this, too. Right now, if you want to apply for your pistol license, you have to wait 14 days. You have to fill out an application, provide 3 references, pay $10, and you wait 14 days. And it's still up to your chief of police, even though that's not how it's supposed to be. Even if you pass all the checks and everything. If a woman is being abused and leaves her abuser, or if she's being stalked and she needs to emergency get that firearm, is she supposed to be a prisoner in her home for 14 days? Because she's certainly not going to open carry. I don't know any woman who opens carry, to be honest with you. Most of us conceal carry because it's the element of surprise, but also we don't want to attract attention either. Yeah. Especially with those crazy moms demand action people who are afraid of inanimate objects. So think about this. A woman is being stalked, and she knows she fears that something's going to happen that night. She gets, she learns how to use a firearm, gets the firearm. And she's supposed to stay in her house. She can't leave her house. I mean, she has to wait 14 days. She can't protect herself outside of her house unless she decides to open carry, and most women are not going to make that choice. Okay,
so what you're saying makes sense. I agree with everything you're saying there. A woman shouldn't be in a prison or in her own house because they're waiting for the bureaucrats to issue a piece
to let her
of paper.
protect herself.
But how about, you say protect yourself, how about this? There's pepper sprays, there's whistles, there's stun guns, there's all kinds of non-lethal implements.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
I know you're kind of laughing and falling out of the chair, but these things are on the market, and women can and do carry them.
They do. Well, as you and I both know, you can spray pepper spray, and it could go the wrong way. I mean, things could happen with pepper spray that make the situation worse, not better. You still become a victim. Obviously, a whistle's going to do nothing. Restraining order is just a piece of paper. You can call 911, but that's not going to help you when they're minutes away and seconds matter. So that's the other issue. And here's another one, Don. In 1920, women got the right to vote in New Hampshire.
Yes.
They put this pistol license law into place in 1923 because they wanted to discriminatorily profile the Irish and the Italian immigrants who were moving to New Hampshire. I happen to be Irish, by the way.
Oh, you're Irish, darling. That's a great thing to hear, I tell you.
So I thought about this.
It's coming up, too, now that you mentioned it.
It is. So in 1920, my grandmother was actually a suffragette. She was fighting to earn the right to vote. Here I am in 2015 fighting to get my rights restored that my grandmother had back then that I've had taken away. Think about that. Yeah. And it's mostly men that I'm fighting them for. It's the committee, the House committee was mostly men, so we're fighting to get our rights restored that my grandmother had, that I don't have now.
Now, we have some encouraging news here, though. That was a Senate bill to start off with, and I know you followed, as a matter of fact, I believe I saw you up at the hearing in the Senate on that constitutional carry bill. Tell me about what happened in the Senate, because this is a drastic change over the last 3 or 4 or 5 sessions that I'm aware of.
Well, during the Senate hearings were over 4.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Only 4 people were there against it. And 3 of them were paid hacks, and the other one is a crazy woman who wants to ban all firearms. So she doesn't count. The other three, they don't count either, in my opinion, because they were paid to be there. They are not representing we the people. Okay. Those other people,
now,
all those
where
people.
Did they have the hearing?
They had it at the Representatives Hall.
The big hall.
The big hall.
The 400.
The big hall. Yes.
It wouldn't fit in the Senate chamber.
Absolutely not. It would have been crowding that whole floor.
Line all the way out the front door. Okay,
it would have been.
Yeah.
So, but that's how many people were there. Over 4.5 hours of testimony. And for people who aren't aware of how the testimony goes, it usually is a couple hours maybe, if that. And they're usually held in a smaller room as opposed to this big, huge hall. But the news was all there. All the various local news stations. There was people video recording. It was big, and I don't think the gun control extremists expected it. But when it got voted on, it was down party lines, and all the Republicans voted for it to pass it. All the Democrats voted against, even though some of the I know for a fact, all of these Democrats got phone calls and emails to support it, far more to support it than against. And there was one senator there's two senators actually, who...
It's okay, they're public officials.
I'm going to say their names. Are you kidding me? Been out there all over the place. Senator David Pierce, who told women, the Women's Defense League and women, who we've brought this up because it is a women's rights issue. I'm a woman. Second Amendment is our right. Last time I checked, that makes it a women's right. So he said it was insulting to intelligent debate. But this guy thinks that birth control is a right, but not protecting ourselves.
So what's it?
Senator David Pierce.
Senator David Pierce, for all you folks who he might be your senator. It's just an interesting passing note here. Yeah, go on.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then there was Senator Hosmer, who's up in the Laconia area.
Who was that again?
Senator Hosmer.
Hosmer, yes.
Hosmer. He's up in the Laconia area. He told our legislative director, when he didn't know she was our legislative director, that her ideas were half-baked. So
really?
Again, Democrats mocking women, fighting for our rights.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it's been quite interesting.
Well,
these guys are supposed to be fighting for women's rights. Instead, they're fighting against them and then insulting us on top of it.
Well, what they really should be doing and lose track of is the fact that they should be defending the Constitution of the United States first.
Agreed.
And foremost.
Absolutely.
And they lose track of that because this group is backing them and that group is providing money and this, et cetera, et cetera. And it gets into the system. Fortunately, we have a large enough House that it really is, the House of Representatives do represent the people. On average, it's a little over 3,000 people that are represented by a House member.
Right.
But anyway, getting back to the Senate, so we have 4 hours of testimony. We got 4 people that talked against it.
Yes, out of all those people.
And how many were there that testified for the bill, do you think, roughly?
I don't know. There were so many people there. They had 2 sides set up to speak. It was literally 4.5 hours, one after the other. And so figure at least 4 hours of all people, granite staters, we the people, pushing, saying we want this bill.
Right.
And I know that they got all phone calls and emails pushing for this bill as well. Yeah. All of them did.
Now, what did the Women's Defense League, what part did they play behind the scenes, the phone calls, the emails, the newspaper ads?
Well, we have, we sent a press release out, describing our background on it. We also sent a press release when Senator Hosmer came out and said he owed an apology to Susan. It was Susan Olson that he said that about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
And then, and then we also have legislative alerts that we give to people. So we sent that out, had people call. We, promoted things on social media. Here's the bill, here are the phone numbers. So we're not just legislative, we're activists too. Mm-hmm. I'm part of the activist team, legislative activism team.
Sure.
So we pushed it with a lot of other people, and we worked with the other gun groups as well.
And tell me about the other gun groups. Of course, I know most of the organizational leaders in the other group, but tell the audience. You're the guest. I'll let you do this.
Well, there's Pro Gun New Hampshire. There's New Hampshire Firearms Coalition.
Yes.
There's now I have to think of all the names.
Go New Hampshire.
I was thinking, you know what? Right, Go New Hampshire. I was trying to think of all the different, but there's all these gun organizations that are in New Hampshire, and we all work together.
Yeah.
And they were doing the same things as we, sending out emails and everything.
Yeah, I don't know if you know it. There's been a little bit of animosity between the gun groups in the past, and they really got together to work for this bill. They really came out with the letters, the phone calls. They really concentrated on getting this passed. So, what happened?
We got it passed.
You got it passed?
Yes, we did.
So,
well, it's passed in the Senate. Now
yeah.
It goes to the House Criminal Justice Committee, where we will again be testifying. Most likely, it's probably going to pass out of there and then goes to the House.
Right.
Again, it was great. Everyone worked together. It's a united alliance to get this passed because everybody agrees with it.
Right.
The Women's Defense League is a no-compromise organization as well.
Okay.
So I didn't say that before, but we are.
Okay.
It worked out really well. It's
Right.
it's been a good experience.
So we have this bill halfway through the Senate, passed the Senate, and it's now on its way to the House.
Correct.
We know the committee it's going to be before.
Yep.
And I happen to know a lot of people on that committee because it was the committee I was on when I was in the House. But I'm hearing good things out in the hallway about the House side of it when it comes to the House.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well.
That sounds great.
So,
yeah. Well, do you have, anything, if you were talking to a lady who just walked in here, for example, and said, well, I saw you on TV and I had this question or that question, how would you sum this all up? What would you say?
I mean, if anyone ever has any questions, we have a webpage, womensdefenseleaguenewhampshire.com. We have a Facebook page.
Could you run that one?
Oh, sorry.
Again. Yeah, I know.
womensdefenseleaguenewhampshire.com.
Look right in the camera.
It's womensdefenseleaguenewhampshire.com. And we also have a Facebook page, Twitter. We're always available. We do get questions often. We have shoots once a month in Manchester at Wilson Hill Pistol Club.
Right.
And it's great. We have people coming in all the time or asking questions, and we're always available to answer.
What kind of questions do you get on average? A repetition type question you get a lot of times.
It's always about, what do you do at your shoots? And we explain how our shoots work. We do the safety training first. We make sure women are able to load and unload their firearm and understand about the firearm, what we just taught them. And then we bring them onto the range and show them, start them out with a .22.
So they actually fire.
Absolutely.
Live fire.
Absolutely.
Real ammunition.
Absolutely.
Real guns. Okay, yeah. And what about the safety factor? Because this program, one of the main pillars of this program is safety, firearm safety.
Correct.
So you're covering the training, but what about the safety? Here's a woman who's never fired a gun, never held one, never shot one. Now she's out and around. She got live ammunition, a real gun, and there's 10 other people there. We
have on our range at all times a chief range safety officer and 2 other range safety officers on either side because, as you know, it's 2 different separate stations, so to speak. Yeah. And we also have certified NRA instructors on the range at the same time.
Uh-huh.
So if women have, the range safety officers are being safe, they stand back, but the NRA instructors will help each woman individually. Some might need more help than others, but they're helping. You get the one-on-one attention as well. You do. So it's really a good place for attention specific because you almost have a one-on-one instructor. There's so many people typically on the range. I mean, we try not to put too many people on it, but it's really good because if someone needs extra help, they can get it. Right. And so it works out.
So, Kim, we're getting kind of short on time here, getting near the end of the festivities, and it has been fun, I'll tell you. Yeah, you're a great guest. Yeah, I told you I was going to pull your chain. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you pulled it right back.
Yeah.
You told me that. So, what would you say in summary? Talk to the ladies out there.
Ladies, it's your right to protect yourself. What are you going to do when you call 911 and the cops are a minute away and you only have seconds to protect yourselves and your family? Get the training, understand how to protect yourself, because you are your first line of defense.
Good. Excellent. Well, we're getting just about ready to wrap up the show. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it so far. I've enjoyed all the guests I've been had on here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Me. Us.
Yeah, it was us. Yeah. Well, yeah, you represent us.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, absolutely. That's perfectly legitimate in my eyes. So, anyway. Closing the show, folks. This is Gorman on Target, and we have had the wonderful Kim Morin with us this evening. We hope that you'll tune in again for our next show, and until then, remember, reducing a 20-round magazine to 10 rounds does not stop crime.